Hello my friends, and welcome back to another channeling. So in today's channeling I wanted to discuss the idea of demons and demon faces. So as we continue to shift through the split in consciousness and through the rapid consciousness expansion that is happening right now, we are seeing that there is an increase in behavior of people talking about seeing demon faces, having paranormal experiences, showing the demonic side of the 3D and revealing how it is layered actually underneath everything in our reality. And this is just a byproduct of the expansion. This is just a byproduct of the ascension, because as we split off, well, let's say this is 3D and this is 5D, and we were in 3D. And now as we're moving up and into the higher, lighter vibration, we are kind of splitting off from this lower vibrational experience. And in that splitting off, there is kind of a revealing of everything that was hidden underneath the reality that we have been existing in and programmed by. In this consciousness expansion, we can see that we have actually been ruled and governed and put to sleep in a way by a higher order of beings who kind of run our society and manipulate our world for their benefit, okay? And as you continue to wake up, you can see this hierarchical structure in ways that you wouldn't have before. You can also see all of these spiritual aspects of everything that exists, and you see how there is a spiritual reality and then there is the 3D reality, and the spiritual reality is king and it is always there. It has been hidden from us for a long period of time. As your consciousness begins to expand, you begin to be able to see things that were always there but that you didn't have conscious access to. So for example, the repeating numbers are just showing the outline of your matrix. They're showing you the location of your matrix reality in your consciousness. Spiritual guidance, all of this revealing is starting to open us up to what was always there, except we were in the denseness and completely unaware of what was happening. So now as we come up out of it, we're able to see any sort of deception or any sort of illusion that was hidden within our 3D reality. And we're also able to have a deeper understanding of what this world actually is. So what does this have to do with seeing demon faces? Well, interestingly enough, as we all continue to ascend, all of the denseness within our consciousness structure is now being shown to us. It's being revealed to us. That shadow side has to rise up and be dealt with before we're able to continue on to the higher frequency. This also does include the aspects of the spiritual war that we are all going through, and most of us in a very unconscious way, because we don't necessarily know that we are ascending unless we're awake to this understanding in our own way, or we've studied some kind of material that discusses this process. Most of us are going, very blindly through this shift, and we all have these little bits and pieces of these things that we're starting to understand. One of the aspects of this shift is the ability to discern the spiritual world that exists within our 3D reality. And so now that our consciousness has expanded, we have the ability to see the spiritual aspects that are existing within people that have always existed in our 3D. And some of these aspects are very dense, low vibrational energy that are basically operating through and around human beings. You might begin to see shadow aspects within people and external to people. You might see ghosts. You might have a lot of paranormal activity. And sometimes this can appear as seeing the demons or the demonic attachments that are within people and operating in the external world. if you are somebody who resonates with moving through this spiritual war, you would have most likely made a contract to clear this dense energy, meaning that it's going to show up in many places in your external reality, including the people that are closest to you. Your higher self makes a contract that says, I'm going to have to deal with whatever darkness is either existing within the bloodline or is operating in the external reality, and I'm going to basically be the stopping for those karmic loops or that dense negative energy that is holding on to that bloodline or to its power in that sense. Now, you will only be able to perceive this once you're able to wake up to the spiritual reality within things. Then this, talks about healing yourself, opening up your third eye, and what you can perceive when all of this is happening to you allows you to see the spiritual reality that is existing within the 3D. So, instead of discussing how all of this is a possibility over the news and over the mainstream information, they have actually made it a mental disorder. So seeing demon faces is now considered a syndrome or a disorder you can develop. And what's interesting is that, developing these things into a disorder like we do with everything that implies with the shift, basically, is just another way for the third dimension to kind of gaslight us out of our power, to kind of say, no, that's not real, that's not happening, that's all in your head. You're seeing these things and it's happening to other people, right? Well, if it's happening to enough people, such as seeing demon faces, developing ADHD, all of these other disorders that are now here and are now operating, this is simply a byproduct of the shift, and it's simply a byproduct of becoming aware of the denseness that exists within people, and we're seeing it rise within them and within their consciousness because it has to be dealt with. So, when we hear people say, like, I see demons or I've seen black eyes and all of these things, do not gaslight yourself out of that. That is a reality. That is exactly what is happening to you. Your consciousness is expanding and you're now able to see energy that is operating through a physical vessel that you may see is not of good intention. The reason it's not of good intention is because it's a pain body. It exists as a parasite. It exists in this lower vibrational state, and that is just how it lives. That is the spiritual frequency that it is at, and it uses physical vessels and surroundings to operate, okay? And once we are spiritually aware of that, meaning our consciousness has expanded to a point where we can see that that's happening, there is no turning back from that. You're only going to continue to expand. This is all a simple byproduct of moving through the dense energy that we have to clear and purge before we're able to release it fully and go into that fifth dimensional frequency. Now, for some of us, that might be an accelerated process that only takes a few years, and for others of us, that might be our entire lives. And if you haven't chosen Ascension, you will not realize that any of this is happening. It will not be happening in your reality, okay? So it is different for everyone, but what I channel spiritually and what I teach is about the Ascension process. And one of the most important aspects of the Ascension process is being able to sense and detect spiritual energy, basically developing spiritual discernment. So yes, we are seeing the dense demonic energy that does exist here in this realm, and we're seeing it operate through people, and it does exist of the unhealed aspects of that person, their bloodline, the surrounding reality, okay? All of it is coming up like kind of like an ooga booga, meaning see me, understand me, integrate me. And once you're able to, you will no longer be able to even perceive that frequency because you will have moved beyond it. but I'm just making this video also to validate the existence of this. I myself, I work as a psychic healer, but I am able to see spiritually what is happening within people. And I have seen people's eyes turn black. I have, in hypnotherapy, seen negative, low vibrational attachments come up out of people. I have, seen people act and behave in ways that were extremely destructive because of the low vibrational energy that they were working with or that was attached to them. I started my career as an addictions counselor, and usually people with addictions are wrestling with that low vibrational energy. They are wrestling with that energy that wants to feed off of that addiction, which is usually just unhealed pain and trauma. Okay, but when we were in the pattern before of being in the 3D and we were existing and marinating in that energy, we didn't even notice that it was toxic. We were programmed into kind of having this low vibrational experience and working through that frequency. And now that we're starting to move up out of it, we can look back at it and say, oh my goodness, right? Because we have purged that energy, or that energy is no longer a vibrational match to us. So usually what we call demonic energy or demonic attachments will attach to something that is weak or unhealed, okay? And that can create an addiction, that can create negativity, hostility, anger, violence, rage. Like I said, it's a low vibrational energy, and it operates and thrives off of pain. And it wants to keep you stuck, and it wants to keep you bound because it exists in that space, right? And it is a lot of fear, a lot of pain, a lot of trauma, all of that realm of experience. And we can stay stuck there if we choose not to do the healing work, or if we don't want to kind of face ourselves and face the pain that we are experiencing. It's simply just vibration. If you look at it from a very low vibrational standpoint, the lowest vibration, I believe, is shame or guilt, and then fear, and then it moves up from there. And in order for us to move up that vibrational scale, move up the chakra system, and get to that heart space where we're operating from that open heart space with love and understanding and loyalty and compassion and fearlessness, we have to clear that denseness. So the aspects of us that can all of a sudden see these demon faces and can all of a sudden see this low vibrational energy operating around us, those are the parts of us that are waking up so that we can integrate those low vibrational existing realities and allow ourselves to move up to the lighter aspects of vibration, which is what we are all doing as we move into the 5D. Okay. Now there are also many theories of this about the shift and everything. Okay. People do discuss how the low vibrational energy, the demonic activity, all of it has to come up and be seen before we can move on from it. It is the great revealing of everything that has existed in the shadows, and we must integrate that energy before we are able to leave it. Now there is the perspective that we are kind of operating within a war, and I do personally agree with that perspective just from the experiences that I've had and what I've heard through others through their hypnotherapy. The lower vibrational energy is kind of knowing that it has nowhere to go in the sense. We are its food source in a sense, and it lives off of our energy, off of our vibration. So if we are all choosing to ascend, which we are, most of us, it is an ascension cycle that comes around every 26,000 years. The lower vibrational energies that existed off of us in the 3D know that they're kind of done for because we're collapsing all 3D realities. So it's like there's no choice but to heal. There's no choice but to ascend, and we must leave all of that behind. And so sometimes that lower vibrational energy is going to really try to put blocks in your path, bring you down, stop you from clearing these patterns and these cycles. And that's why it's easy for a lot of people to kind of get taken over by that negativity or continue to fall into those loops. Now, the low vibrational energy likes to label you. So it can, within the medical system, it can label you as having something and giving you medication for that thing. Now, maybe in extreme cases that's necessary. However, in my work and from what I've seen, I personally believe that it's just a matter of doing some really deep healing work. And that looks like getting sober. That looks like taking a long time to yourself, working with professionals and understanding energy and clearing energy, changing your diet entirely, right? It's a whole lifestyle change, and you will be put through that change if you are on a spiritual awakening path. Some of us have not chosen Ascension, so maybe we won't need to do so much healing work in this lifetime. But for those of us who have, you're going to be able to start to discern your spiritual reality, and seeing the low vibrational energy that is operating that you weren't able to see previously is quite a normal experience through this shift. I do remember when I started to wake up to the ability to really see low vibrational energy, and for me personally, it was in 2020, and I was going to a regular street festival in my town. Now, at the time I was going to the street festival, there, COVID was kind of really happening, and I was going to a pub with my friend. And right outside that pub was a tent where they were handing out vaccinations. So right away, me being able to spiritually read the reality, I was like, okay, that's not good. As we all know, the shot is kind of there to really keep you in a low vibrational state, okay? It is kind of like a benchmark for a demonic energy, a low vibrational energy. It does operate in that way because it wants to control you, not for your own good, okay? And for those that, did go that path, that's up to them. There's no judgment. However, it is very clear to see now that that was a deceptive tactic from what you might want to call the dark side or the negative aspects of this game that are all being revealed, okay? So I went into the pub with my friend, and I was already on the tail end of becoming sober. I haven't had a sip of alcohol in, I think, the last 4 or 5 years. But at the time, I was still drinking a little bit, even though it was becoming hard for me to continue to remain on that path. And I will never forget being in there because it had been quite a while since I had gone to a pub or anything like that. And what I was able to see with my eyes really changed everything for me. And that was the last time that I ever went to a pub. I could just see it kind of looked like, to me, shadow aspects around people who were sitting in there and drinking. It just looks like sort of cloudy shadow aspects, and it was like something that I could see. It looked like a film that was there that I couldn't see before. And it gave me a really scared feeling. I remember kind of even feeling the denseness on my body. And what I also noticed was the way that people were talking to each other, the things they were talking about, and the way that they were interacting with each other. Now, I've studied psychology my whole life, and I'm a huge psychology nerd, so I'm really, I'm extremely perceptive about all of those kinds of things when it comes to people and their interactions. But what I was noticing was that everybody was wearing somewhat of a mask, and the things that they were talking about started to sound somewhat of a program. And we are all running all these low vibrational programs that keep us in lack, programs about money, programs about the bad things that have happened to us, programmings about the things that are meant to be difficult. And you can tell because it's the same kind of regurgitated narrative that comes out of people. Most of it was either about the shot or lack in some type of way, whether that be money, whether that be health, whatever it was. It started to look like I was sitting in a room of humans who were regurgitating a program with all of these shadow figures all around them. And At that time in my awakening, I was still very new to being able to perceive my reality in that way, and it was very scary. So I will kind of say that as well. This is not easy to start to perceive, and usually it will bring about a breakdown in your reality of your job, your friendships, maybe even where you live. Your energy is going to shift so drastically with the expansion and the awareness and that perception that you're going to just vibrate out of that reality, because it will scare you. You will see it for what it is, and it will feel extremely uncomfortable. You are Neo waking up to the fact that we live in a matrix, essentially. And a part of that waking up is the understanding that there are lower vibrational sources that are existing among us, and they are using us like a battery. Okay. And again, if you're not waking up to this, then it's not for you. Ascension is not happening for you in this lifetime, and there is no good or bad with that. But we are going through the biggest spiritual shift that we would have seen in thousands and thousands of years. Okay. And it is a really, really big deal, and understanding how to navigate it is extremely important as well. So that's what I wanted to kind of say about demon faces. It is not a disorder. It is real. It is happening, and those energies have always existed there. We are just now able to perceive them, and they are getting really loud at the moment because we are just in the thick of clearing a tremendous amount of dense energy within our consciousness structure, and we are understanding that we are not just working with us as human beings. There are many, many aspects of spiritual beings that share this reality, and some of them are very dark, and understanding how they operate is very important so that we can know how to move through this game. Okay, so I hope that was helpful. Again, please share your experiences. Have you guys ever seen anything like this? Have you experienced anything like this in your reality? I would love to hear from you in the comments and on the app. Thank you so much for joining me for another episode and another channeling on Ascension Talks, and I'll see you on the next one. Much love.